Today is the 13th day of Sivan, the 9th of June. And apart from the mess I have in my microphone, we're holding in chapter 2 of Mitzvah Sa'amanos Elokus, which means belief in God, the mitzvah to believe in God, in Derech Mitzvah Secha, from the Tzemach Tzedek. And we're in the middle of page Mem Vav. What does it mean when there is no das? What does it mean that a person only has faith and he doesn't have knowledge of God? Meaning he hasn't translated the faith into knowledge. And we said yesterday that knowledge is the key to opening the heart, to the emotions. And it means that there's self-awareness. Knowledge by definition is self-awareness. So there's a beautiful example that's brought in the Talmud for something like this, that a person has faith, but he hasn't translated the faith into knowledge. And so in other words, he has no self-consciousness of what it means to have faith. And therefore he also has no emotions with the faith. There's none of that is involved. And this is going to be our topic today. It says in general, when we talk about faith, we talk about a crown. What do we mean by a crown? Because the crown is set on the top of the head, and it only encircles the head, but it doesn't go into the head. It says one of the interesting things in the Talmud is that David's crown was not just round, it also had a line going through. Meaning it was supported, there was a support in the crown itself. And that support was like a rod that went from side to side of the crown. And so it says only a king from David's house can wear this crown. Why? Because you have to have a bit of a migrat. How do you say migrat? Like some missing piece in your skull almost for that to sit comfortably. So you have to have some kind of like a concave, like a physical place for that rod to fit in. But in general, most crowns are just a circle. They just encircle you. They don't go in. David's crown is special. It does go in a little. But the point behind this is that why do the sages use this parable of a crown? Because it's makif, because it's a surrounding light. Ve'ino nichnas bepnimiuto, ve'en amidot mitpa'alim mimena, lefi shehi b'bchinat richuk. Because faith by itself does not enter; it doesn't become integrated into the mind. So a person says, "I have faith," and people say, "I believe." Okay, it's very nice that you believe, but how does that change your life? How does the faith affect who you are? Just to say I have faith is not saying very much. That's very important, but it doesn't say very much about you. And the example is that it doesn't integrate, he says, is that the Talmud says, Lachen ganava apu machtarta rachmana karya. That a thief, when he goes to steal, he calls out to God and he says, God help me. So obviously he has faith in God, otherwise why is he calling out to God and saying help me? But if it would
faith one way.
Yeah, it can. It's one way. It doesn't integrate back.
You'll help me.
Good.
You don't think about it.
Good. But he has no self-awareness. This is if you had a little bit of self-awareness, how could you say that and then go steal? What's wrong with you? But what's wrong with you is that you only have faith, and that you've never translated the faith into an integrated understanding of what it means to have faith in God. It's never been translated into emotions about God. He says, God help me. So he believes in God's power, he believes that he's omnipotent, he can even help him steal. Nonetheless, he's rebellious against God. He himself, he doesn't understand what he's saying. But that is the faith of most of the world, including everyone, as long as they haven't learned faith. You have to actually learn it. Where do you learn faith?
Because faith is built in.
Because people think it's built in. It's built in, but it's not built in an awareness.
So where do you learn it?
Here, this is the book.
I think you can learn it also experientially.
Like many things, would you?
Mesiras Nefesh or something. They learn something.
No. So Mesiras Nefesh is exactly that faith of the
But that's
thief.
the test of Mesiras Nefesh.
Yes,
The
it's
test.
without knowledge. Mesiras Nefesh, when I say that the person is willing to sacrifice himself, Jews who were martyred, that were burnt at the stake, whatever it was, that was a state of not thinking about oneself. It's a lack of self-awareness. The moment they become self-aware, they can't do it. It's exactly the type of faith that's not integrated. It's the highest form of
The
faith.
highest Mesiras Nefesh is with knowledge.
No, you can't. It doesn't work.
You can't. The ones who went Kiddush Hashem and said Shema before that doesn't work.
The Shema is part of the Mesiras Nefesh, but it's not a.
Mesiras Nefesh with a complete understanding that you're giving up your life.
No, Beseda, yes, of course.
So that's
You
what
understand that, but you definitely doesn't come from understanding. It's not that the person comes to an understanding and he says, "Okay, now's the time for Mesiras Nefesh. Okay, come kill me." Nobody says anything like that. They're faced with a situation, and the way to cope with the situation is to come to a higher level where I forget about myself, because there's no other option. No human being can willingly go to their death. There's no such thing. There has to be something that's like not of this world.
Yeah, I understand.
A regular person has Mesiras Nefesh, but it means that he's now void of self-awareness.
Yes.
He can't be. So he believes. So our thief, a very nice thief. He's a big believer. He says, until 4th grade, I was even frum. I was all these things, but now I have to make a living. What can I do? Okay, so Hashem, help me make my living. This is how I make my living. But you're rebelling against God. And this is because Emunah is a surrounding light. ואין מידותיו זזים במקומם על ידי זה אלא על ידי הדת דווקא שהוא המפתח שלהם. And Emunah by itself, faith by itself, cannot move the emotions, it cannot move the faculties of the heart. The only way to do that is through knowledge, which is their key, as we said. So this thing is very interesting because whenever you talk about Emunah, it's very interesting. There's a big question about how much of a subject is this in a person's study of Torah. That's a very big question. And when I grew up, when I was not in Chabad, I was in the Rav Kook world. So they have this thing that they call learning Emunah. How do you learn Emunah? So they have a few books that they study. One of the books is the Kuzari. That's considered to be a book that teaches you Emunah. What do you mean teaches you Emunah? Meaning it looks at the topics of Emunah and it tries to elaborate on them. Chovas HaLevavos, they don't learn.
That's not an Emunah?
It is, but they don't learn it.
Oh, but it is.
Right, it's not one of them.
Doesn't mean nothing.
What?
It's supposed to build in, to go into yourself.
Okay, and you have to.
learn this, it's,
Right. You have to learn it in such a way that it becomes integrated, and so there's a very big deal. The interesting thing is that in the 20s, in the 1920s, Rav Kook, who was the chief rabbi of Eretz Yisrael at the time, so he was living in Yerushalayim already, and he decided to influence the Chabad yeshiva in Yerushalayim called Torah Semes to learn the Emunah. That's what they called it, to learn the Emunah.
Only Chabad was not there.
What? Yeah.
Yerushalayim was in
Yeah.
Chabad.
No, Torah Semes.
That's how it's-
Torah Semes was already in the. Torah Semes was from the time of the Rayats in 29.
1920?
29. He came to Torah Semes in Givat Shaul.
Who's it?
The Rebbe Rayatz. The Rebbe Rayatz was here for a visit.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Just before the Hebron massacre. He left a day before. And Torah Semes was from, I think, in 1918 or 17, I don't remember when.
After the
There were two yeshivas. There was one in Hebron.
Opened up in 19,
Okay, 18 or 19. I think. Right. I don't remember who it was. Alter Simchovich was the mashpia, and Havlin was the Rosh Yeshiva, and he decided to get involved because he very much held from the fact that you have to learn Emunah. What do you mean learn Emunah? You have to learn the books of Emunah. You have to. And so there was a very uncomfortable exchange between the Rebbe Rayatz and him. That the Rebbe Rayatz, they met. They knew each other quite well, right? And they liked each other. They were very fond of each other. They didn't agree, of course, on many things, but they were very respectful and fond of each other. And so there's a letter from the Rebbe Rayatz to the Rosh Yeshiva and to Rav Kook. To the Rosh Yeshiva, he said, how come you didn't tell me that he's getting involved? Because if at least I would have known beforehand, I could have stopped it before.
Right.
And then he wrote a letter to Rav Kook, basically telling him to leave it alone and not to tell them what to do.
Amazing, I didn't know this.
Yeah, it's a very interesting chapter of
Yeah.
relationship. But these are the two main schools that learn Emunah, Rav Kook and Chabad. Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow.
Wait, we learn Emunah in a different way.
Right? No, it's the same things, but the principles are.